just be that way.
I did. I am.
We're here.
Hey, I just want to point out, I know
I
we're heading
think
out to I know we're heading out to a live stream, but I just want to point this out. It's Thursday again, okay? And we're gonna be in Monday again before it's all said and done. I cannot get over how much this week is just, and it seems like it's just week after week, it's going by quicker. So,
it's
Well, I guess since
because
the
we're so
velocity,
busy.
no,
mm,
it's the velocity of our time where it gets, yeah, but as Melanie said, we're so busy. But the question asked really is, are you living or are you just existing?
I've done a lot this week. There's been a lot of memory. I mean, over this past, the boys only have, I'm sure you do too, they only have like 4 weeks left and they go back to school.
Mm.
Three.
And, I was just sitting back reflecting today after, I'd finished with lunch with Lynn. I took a breather because that's a lot. And I was just sitting back and I'm like, like there's been a lot of snapshots in my memory for this past summer. And like tomorrow we're going to the science center and, doing all the things. I mean, I'm being very time intimate with them. I'm making sure I'm scheduling that time and, being very present, in all aspects, even here while I'm in a break from, meeting, from connecting or whatever I'm doing with clients, etc. I'm being very mindful, even with them out there, to, snapshot the moments and the time that I spend with them out playing baseball and wiffle ball and doing all the things. And I just sat back after my lunch with Len time and was just thanking God, that there's just these moments that I do get,
Right.
but it just does seem like it's flying by. I
It
mean,
is.
it just seems like yesterday we hosted Mindful Nuggets, on Monday and had that discussion. And I said, did I not? Thursday's going to be here before we know it. Thursday's here and here we are. So, I know we're live out on YouTube right now.
Well,
So, welcome
that's
back.
the important thing you're talking about. There is light in the relationship.
Yeah, it's like as long as you're enjoying the life part and being active, and you
Right.
have something to have joy and happiness through your busyness, that does make time go by quicker because you're enjoying what you're doing.
Pile of clothes you
Right.
never wear anymore.
Right.
Turn
Right. Yeah. I mean, I
And I mean, when you worked, I know you were like many others, when you worked a grind, there was that key element was missing. There was no memories that you could enjoy, no moments of time where you could say, at least we got outside, we got to touch the grass, we got to do some activities together. Those are the key to life right there.
right, right. And that's just it. I don't I don't know if many people are really realizing that they're not being time intimate, which I know we had this discussion on Monday.
A
Um,
little bit. A
We
little
we
do
bit.
did. We
become
we
kind
touched
of,
on it. Yeah, we touched on it. You're right.
we don't
Um,
realize we become kind of time blind because we've bought into that conditioning
mhm.
that, once you do the grind, there's going to be a payoff.
Right.
You
We'd
hope.
But if
like to
the
believe
payoff is
that.
just 1 week out of 365 days of
Right.
grind, that's not very much of a payoff that you can't get back. Time doesn't go backwards. And, each day you live, you're closer to death on that side.
Right.
And
Right.
you
Well,
do
it really depends what you've been bought for. I mean, God paid a
true.
price for us, or does the world pay a
But
price that you're
I
accepting for your
dare
life in
say
the grind?
at least 90, maybe 85% of people would say they would have rather have what Michelle was describing, which was a busy life with lots of moments of joy and happiness and giggling and laughter that they spent together as a family. Might not have been a vacation, but those are what make up a vacation. That's the whole reason you looked for a vacation. But if you
Right.
have those in your daily life or weekly life, I mean, what a blessing that is in and of itself.
There are
Well,
two
it's
things that are
interesting.
important to life. It's light and breath.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not, in the light, right? And you're not enjoying the light and having those moments where you understand the breath as well, right? I mean, you've got to be in the real life. I mean, it's just a breath of fresh air, whenever I go out, once I leave my office, and I go out and I see, the boys or they're doing something that there's many blessings in those moments and people I don't believe because they're in the daily grind. Okay. I don't know who I'm talking to out here, but I'm talking to somebody, obviously. You're in that daily grind. And so you don't stop and see the small blessings that are right in front of you. And you don't snapshot those moments when they're right there as well. Now, the reason why we're talking about this, everybody, is because we have viewers out here watching us tonight. So, welcome back to our 90-day devotional every Thursday night, sponsored right here by Mindful Nuggets. As you can see, Melanie is holding up the journal that she created here for our 90-day devotional. And tonight our scripture is in John 1:4. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. So we've been having this discussion about how we just literally, it feels like Monday. William and I met in our podcast here at Mindful Nuggets, and we had that discussion about time intimacy and being in those moments and understanding why they're important. And Melanie brings up a very valid point, which I'm sure we'll discuss more tonight as well, since you're just tuning in with us. Um, that we get into our daily grind, we get into our programming, and we don't take the time to really realize that there's some major blessings that are handed to us in many different moments throughout our day. And it's the little snapshot moments that you need to be capturing, uh, whether you understand that or not. At this point in time, let's dive into the scripture. Ms. Melanie, I'm going to turn this over to you. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. Who's speaking in John 1:4?
This is Apostle John, one of Jesus's closest disciples, and he was in a Johannian community, and he is sharing the joy of experiencing Jesus Christ to assure early believers of their eternal salvation. But what I noticed when you were speaking is that he is life. And when you get a relationship with him, he opens your eyes from your time blindness and your busy grind so that you are able to have an attitude of gratitude for those captured moments in your daily life. Like you just said, you can walk out and see the boys that they could run up and hug you. You can go out for a minute and play before you have to rush off to do more things. You're not in the, I'm too busy to be bothered with you and you're annoying me. I've got to go, which we do get into. We kind of get in that grind and then your mind is busy because you're planning and strategizing all the things, right?
Mhm.
And we don't realize that we're stealing our own joy and happiness from ourselves because we cannot let loose of that in our mind. And you do have to shift out of phase with that daily grind because it will. And it is intended to, purposely programmed by Satan, who controls, he doesn't control the world. God is in control, but he is allowed to roam freely because we are allowed to freely have choice. And he is going to do everything within his power because he's mad and he's angry and he's throwing a tantrum because he's not in heaven and he got thrown out. Just like any other child, they want to be included. And so if they can't be included, they're going to do their best to make the person who's punishing them unhappy. And what makes God unhappy is his children separating and having a divide, a chasm, a gap between him and them. So he did send Christ, his son, to make a pathway, be the light, guide your footsteps, show you the way. And when you start on a journey to develop that relationship, he opens your eyes to many things that have always been with you, in you. The only thing he does is open your understanding to it and your ability to say, I'm thankful for it. And that can be like me telling you the story of me cleaning up the deck from dog poop and pee covered. But while I'm out there getting ready to complain, I don't want to be out here cleaning it. It's hot, it's yucky, this is a terrible job. This is not what I want to do, Lord. And then just popped in my head. Did you want to get better? Yes, of course. You are better and you're out here able to do it the way you want to do it on your time. Get it done, get it cleaned up so you can be out here and enjoy the deck. I was like, yes, you're right. I'm having this conversation, and these are thoughts popping in my head. And I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord, that I am, yes, able to get this cleaned up, use the water that's available to me, and do this, and use my arms and legs to be able to do this because post coma, I was in a wheelchair, so I couldn't do it. And I would have to wait for other very busy people to put that on their radar as important, a priority in their life. And if you've ever been where you can't do things on your own time, when they're nagging your brain that they still need to be done, it's something to be quite grateful for when people put whatever's on your priority list on their priority list to get it done for you out of love. But then when you are able to take back responsibility and the ability to do that, that is something, yes, you'll want to probably complain about because it's not a fun job. But then there's also the flip side of the coin, which is I could do it. And I was so glad that, yes, my arms would work, my legs would work and hold me up, and I could do all the things, right? That is just him opening my mind up to say, look, you can do this. It's availed to you. And, prior to COVID coma, didn't think anything about the fact that I could go out there and clean up stuff anytime I wanted to and brush my teeth the way I wanted to with my own toothbrush and the way I liked it with the toothpaste that I wanted, that somebody didn't get the wrong kind. Those little things, we take so many things for granted that many people don't have. We are a very blessed nation. And he shines the light on it for you like he did me out of my darkness of my thoughts. And he does that for everyone. And if he did nothing else but come to make a path for us and open our understanding, he wouldn't have to do anything else. I mean, that is a grand miracle blessing within itself.
Absolutely. You made a key point about how we don't actually stop to see the blessing. So, I was on a event last week, and we went to the botanical gardens, and inside the gift shop area was a blessings book.
Oh, nice.
And I made a suggestion to my partner for our next retreat that I wanted to find a blessings book. It's very similar to this one, but I wanted a bigger one. This was a more smaller hand pocket size. I said, I think it would be a great idea because our retreat, of course, is, faith-based. I think it'd be a great idea to have a book handy for our attendees to start a blessings book. Because here's the thing that you mentioned, we don't stop to see the small blessings. And something as simple as toothpaste being the right kind, not the wrong
Exactly.
kind, and you didn't buy it, somebody else bought it. And, these are the things that we don't stop and say, Thank you, Lord. I'm grateful they did that. So those are small blessings.
Well, the fact that most humans can wash their own hair with the shampoo that they want, brush their own hair and style it they want well, the way they want to.
Yeah.
When post my coma, somebody else had to brush my hair, and of course, I had to wait for somebody to have time to do that. Then to mention my hair was falling out by the handfuls, and they didn't care what kind of shampoo they used whatever was there.
Right.
And of course, you want your own shampoo. It smells nice. It has the chemicals, or hopefully, like mine, chemical free as much as possible. But you know, you like your things. And then, if you're in the case of your hair's falling out, you want to put some things back into your scalp to nourish it
Mm-hmm.
to let your hair grow. But at the time, truly, at that time, when my hair was falling out, it bothered Bill more that wads of hair were coming out. I was more concerned on let's just try to get me to where I can want to wake up, one, two, get dressed by myself, three, walk or stand up or sit up by myself. There was many more greater challenges that I had on my mind than my hair. I could have cared less if I was bald at that time.
Right, right. Because when you don't feel well and you know you need to get back up and you get moving, because that is a key factor to not staying down is getting up and moving.
Mhm.
That's going to be your first thought process, not the hair falling out. However, I'm sure it was a concern in the back of your mind.
No,
I'm sure
really, it
you didn't leave
wasn't.
that.
In fact, because my hair was falling out, it was very scraggly. I told my daughter to come down from Nashville to cut it all off because I reminded myself of the traditional Jewish men that have the long
Oh yeah. Yeah.
curls and their little
Hmm.
praise hat. And I was like, that's just not a good look. Just come and shave it all off. And she's like, what? I was like, just cut it off. I don't care. I'd rather be no hair than have four little curls right here.
Right, right. 100%, 100%. But again, these are little blessings that we take for granted every single day. So
Well,
I
the
want to
fact that you
encourage
came
our
here.
viewers.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to encourage our viewers to hear this little nugget tonight, that there are little small blessings that are happening every
And
single
I like
moment of
that
the
you
day.
said your little blessing book because there is something to be said about writing down, paying attention, being intentional, making a neural pathway between a written word and what your eyes see. That kind of makes a snapshot in your memory.
Mhm.
And that's important because then that brings your attention to it. And I don't know, I'm sure everybody doesn't do this, but my mind, my mind's eye makes a picture of it. And then I can notice it more if I see that same thing again or
Right.
something close to it.
Yep.
Hearing your favorite song, whatever, just something. It's really, really the tiny details of life are the most important ones. Little
Absolutely. And
tiny things.
this was what I loved about this blessings book was it was a 365-day blessing book. So what I'm looking for is a correlation of a blessing and a scripture.
Oh, that'd be
Now,
nice.
we could actually create the book to be just just a note for blessings and whatever you're studying, you could add that scripture.
Yeah.
Um, but my goal is that at the end of the year, you can go back and look over it and you can see just how God worked in your life. Because if you pay
Well,
attention, if you've been here long enough, you've been paying attention that these scriptures that we read each week and speak upon have some form of daily activity in your life or week that has this fits right into your week. And this week, of course, in him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. So, where was your shining light this week? It happened. It was
it
there.
did.
Think about it.
Yes, definitely. He shows up in the most unexpected places, in the most unexpected ways, just to prove that it was him showing up in your life. And it's wonderful. For me, it showed up in the tiny things of me getting ready to make an appointment to go to an appointment with a doctor and for diagnostic testing. And I noticed that my reserve energy and the alertness of my mental focus had improved enough to where I took time to put on one, I got up in time to get ready instead of being rushed. Two, I took time to put on blush and earrings and a scarf and lip balm. And, when you feel bad and you have a low energy, not just feeling bad, but you have extremely low energy, you are doing well to get yourself dressed and ready and somebody drive you to your appointments. And it's a blessing when you can get yourself ready, look halfway decent. I mean, you try to do that anyway. That's part of your own self esteem and confidence. And it helps you feel like you're more adept at facing the world, I believe. For me, it does. And I've never been one of the people who wants to go out in their pajamas or their sweatpants or whatever. I have lounging clothes that I wear at home, but when I'm going to go outside, I'm putting on real clothes. Now, if you like wearing those, that is fine. I'm not knocking you. It's just I feel baggy in those, and because I'm already hefty, I don't want to add to that. So I try to look more put together, like I intentionally did something.
Well,
And
we can talk about that because there's a history to that.
well, for me, it just make I just love. Have you ever seen those little elderly patients in nursing homes who still put on the outfits? And when you look at them, they literally look put together. They didn't put a lot of effort. It's just they matched up some outfit. They put on a little lipstick. Their hair's fixed and it's not sticking up like
Right.
this. And I'm like, I want to be that little old lady when I'm an old lady, and I want to be feisty. I want to be the one that goes, there's that problem lady right there. I don't want to be the one. If I have to go to a nursing home, I don't want to be the one who's laying there like a
In your
knot on a
sweatpants
wood.
and your sweatshirt.
Well, my sweatpants, well, normally they're in a gown because nobody dressed them.
Typically, yes, yes.
I don't want to be laying there in like a knot on a log. I want to be the one causing trouble.
There you go. And
I
I
want us
mean,
to be that.
there's something to be said for that. But I was relating back to I look at it back in the day of going to church.
Mm-hmm.
I relate that conversation back to my grandmother reminding me that you do not leave the home unless you're in your church clothes.
Right.
You should be in your church clothes at all times. And then when you go to church, you should upscale that because you're going to church.
Right. You put on your best clothes because Jesus
Exactly.
deserves your best.
Exactly. Exactly. So there is much to be said for this conversation, in
But I do
how
think when
that
you
relationship.
when you put intention to it and you have the energy to do it, it helps you stand taller. It helps you feel better to know that you have presented a better side of you and that you feel like you look nice. It helps boost your self confidence and it helps you interact with people as opposed to kind of hiding back in the wall and hope that they don't see you.
Right. So
And
there was a lady I met today. Her name is Allison. She speaks on this topic right here and teaches women exactly how to do this each and every day and why you should dress for success every single day. But what really captured me, because I'm going to go to William here, was the words we speak to ourselves in that process. So great connection today. Somebody I want to connect Mr. William with because Mr. William's going to speak upon. I'm going to come to you right now and I'm going to ask you to speak the words that we're speaking to everyone out here on YouTube tonight. What is this verse speaking upon in relationship to you and the words that you speak to people?
Michelle thinks I'm an oracle or something.
You are. You just haven't realized it yet.
Well, you
All right,
do
well,
know we all
now,
are in a
You're what's
way.
his
listen,
name in Matrix? What's the guy's name in the Matrix?
um,
The who
It's Keanu Reeves.
Keanu
yeah,
Reeves, you're
Keanu
talking
Reeves,
about?
but Samuel Jackson isn't that who is his and has
No,
his
it was
name?
not
Yes.
Samuel
No,
Jackson. It
no.
was,
No,
no.
it's
But him, what was
Morpheus.
his name?
Yeah,
His name
I
was
can't remember.
Morpheus in there, but it's
That's
not.
it, Morpheus. That's it, Morpheus. There you go. You're Morpheus.
Well, I am bald, so that helps fill the
That's
part.
it. That's it. That's the whole thing that
Now,
makes it right there.
you two were talking about moments, time, life, living. Okay. The part that hadn't been connected yet is light to this whole conversation. So if we're going to talk about the words, let's look at the word itself. All right. If you go back to John 1, this is right before John 1:4, John
Mhm.
1 through 3. In
Mhm.
the beginning was the Word was with God, Word was God. And nothing was created without him involved into it. So when we're coming to John 1:4, it says, in him was life. Not that he discovered life, not he made life, he is life. He is the source of life. So everything stems from him. It also ties beautifully into John 15:5. It says, abide in me, and you'll have abundant life. Apart from me, you will perish.
Mhm. And isn't that what most people who are in the world programming, aren't they much like? They remind me much of two things: zombies who are
Okay, hold
lifeless.
that thought because I'm going to get there in a second.
I'm reading your 15:4 through 6 right now.
Okay, now the thing about that is we're not just here for biological existence. That's what life, Zoe, Z-O-E, is hyphenated at the top in Hebrew, is in existence. Well, what y'all have been talking about is most people live in existence, but they don't have life.
Yeah,
All right,
that's the zombie part.
all right. So now that we're talking about life, but let's go back to Genesis, I believe it's 1:3, and let there be light. Look at the order. First, there must be life before there can be light. And if you look at light, if we don't have light, we perish.
Mm-hmm.
We can't grow.
Why
There's
we had a
nothing.
son.
Well, I mean,
Right?
let's be real about your health at this point. I mean, and you can attest to this. Isn't it great whenever you wake up in the morning? I don't know about anybody else, but I get up in the morning after I've had my time of gratitude with him. I immediately get up and go out my patio so that I can be in
And
the
see the
light
light.
and really experience because I'm up at 4:30
Light,
in the morning, right?
light sustains life.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I feel
And
more
it's not,
alive.
and now light sustains biological life, but the light also enlightens spiritually as well.
Hmm.
He
Because
does.
not only Jesus is light, he's also the truth. He's the
Well,
origin of
and,
truth.
and the light he shines is on what is truly important in your life.
There we
Right.
go. Bingo.
Right.
So what it is now we're going back to those time moments and living, making those memories, his presence. In the light, you're in his presence.
Well, that's like if you had an apple tree. Apple trees are pretty and they make little flowers, but in order for it to really do what it's meant to do, it's got to grow bigger, stronger limbs so it can hold apples.
There's a whole
And
multiple
that's your
sermons I could
abundant
go on that.
life. That's
Yeah.
the abundant life he gives. And that's what he wants us to have, to to be like an apple tree or another fruit bearing tree, not just
Well,
do the leaves and the flowers, but
right there.
actually
This is
the
great.
fruit.
This is great right there. All right. The relationship that Christ wants you is really the root of life.
Right.
Mhm.
Without roots,
Right.
there is no life. The alignment embodied in Him is the alignment, is the branch, and we are the branch. He is the center of that. He is the roots. All life flows through Him, and it flows through us first. The fruit is the outcome that we bear. We don't create the fruit. The apple tree has a seed. We didn't create the seed. We didn't create the dirt, but we let the life and the light flow through us in order to have abundance. But it
Yeah.
all had to start with Him, not through us.
Well, no,
So we just
he
go
spoke
ahead.
us into being. He breathed. I know I've said this before that there are days since I have a breathing disorder that it's difficult for me to breathe. And I wear oxygen and my portable oxygen to help me do that. But then there are days like today I'm breathing inside without those. And I find
So
myself saying thank you for my breath. And then I'm like, ding ding ding, he is the entire being of your breath of life.
Right.
without the light, there would be no oxygen for
But
you
you
to
know,
breathe.
we just get so used to the fact that we can breathe easy without much thought to it that we don't consider that a blessing or a miracle for the fact that we can do that. That we breathe in clean-ish air, that our body can filter out things that don't toxify us.
It's an
Right.
incredibly intricate design that's just beautifully made, way beyond comprehension. If we were capable, we'd already duplicated the human life, and none of us can because we don't have the authority to breathe life, ruach,
Well,
in Hebrew.
I can't
No,
speak anything into being.
no, no. We cannot create anything greater than us. It's impossible, and you can't do it. And we can
But
create cost. We can manufacture chaos. We're good at that.
yeah, we're
But
very good at that.
yeah, but it's just think about it. I'm going to go to Ezekiel 37 for a minute. And this is God showing us exactly what you're talking about, zombies. It's the dry bones section,
Yeah.
into where many of the warriors and soldiers have fallen over the years and decades and whatever the time was. But God says to Ezekiel, look at all these dry bones. Let me show you how life is. And he's representing Israel at the moment. And what he does is first he puts all the bones back in order. Then he puts the sinew on it, the muscle back on it. Then he puts the flesh back on the body, but there is no breath in him yet. And many of us live that way. There's no
We do. Because
light, or breath in our existence because we're just existing. We're not alive. And the
we
only way to
buy
be alive
into
is in
that
him.
programming of the grind. And we don't realize that we're making ourselves a slave to the grind, to whomever's dream that you're building in hopes of having a payoff once you've worked hard enough, long enough.
But you were
And
not taught to be in him.
that's not exactly, that's not the way God intended you to live. And like you said, He has an order. So He has to order
Always.
your chaos first, which starts here. He's got to get your stinking thinking corrected. And then while correcting your stinking thinking, he's also working on your heart so that it applies to you. And then he reveals and opens your understanding of what his intention for your life is meant to be: abundant, carefree, not worrisome, not heavy. Yoke yourself to him and he'll carry the load. You
It,
don't have to be the responsible one,
your
the only
your
one who does
life,
any work.
your
He can do the work. He tells you his load is light. His way is light. because
the
he's strong enough to do it all, but we can't. You have to develop a trust and a faith and a belief. And I know I've said this before. You have to start out with those words. Really, you do have to speak to your mind and tell it before your body ever feels it. I trust and believe that God is working where I cannot see for my good.
Wasn't that a part of the light? You just said that.
Yes.
Trust and believe
well,
that he is working for me where I
it
cannot
is,
see.
yes, it has to be that relationship. Otherwise, you're are dry bones.
Well, it's just funny how early on our belief that the world is too busy to pay attention to us small ones takes root. And I'm speaking from my experience with my granddaughter. We were on a dolphin cruise. And, there's lots of boats out there too, trying to get dolphins to come. And we saw a dolphin, I don't know, probably 50 feet away from us at another boat. And we were discussing, and I said, oh, wouldn't it be nice if that dolphin would come over so we could see it close up? And I said, we can talk to Jesus and he'll talk to that dolphin, and that dolphin will obey because that dolphin knows that Jesus is its creator. And she said, she's only 8. She said, Jesus is too busy for that. He won't pay attention to that. And I looked at her and I said, why in the world would you think Jesus is too busy to
You
hear?
just said it. Why in the world?
Why in the world? Yep.
Uh-huh. Why would you think that Jesus, who is your maker creator and loves you more than anything he's created on this earth, wouldn't be too busy to hear your prayer? And I said, look, let's just ask him. And I bet he will answer us because he is a good God. And of course, we did a little prayer, and I didn't really think anything about it. I didn't like to say, just keep asking, just keep nagging him. I just said, let's just wait a minute and see what happens. And I know it was less than 2 minutes. I got splashed in the face and I didn't really realize what had happened. And then the people around us were giggling. And they said, look, look. And truly, had we been standing in the water, that dolphin would have been on top of us. And it smacked water over the side of the boat, got both of us in the face. And I said, see, God is faithful to answer you anytime you want to talk to him.
It's absolutely true.
Or
Absolutely
she's
true.
only 8 and she already got some idea that
Mhm.
we and the creator that loves her more. She didn't even understand that he loves her more than anything else. And aren't we adults? We do that too. We get too caught up in what the world has given us as an example to follow, as opposed to what Jesus has given us the example. And then we don't have, mentors that live that example for us to see. And she was so shocked that that dolphin had listened to God and shown up where we asked. And I
It
said,
left an
God works
impression.
that way every time. He wants to do
I
it all.
assume that it left quite the impression upon her as to
I hope and pray it did.
Well,
You never
it,
know with kids,
that's
if they're
true.
going to retain what part of what they're going
she
to.
probably will retain that one. That was pretty magnificent.
It was
What
pretty magnificent for me.
what
I
happened?
was I was
Yeah,
so
it was.
thrilled for
I
her.
hope everybody around was hearing your conversation, and then they
There was
witnessed that.
another grandmother sitting there, and she heard. I know she heard me because I saw her smile light up, and then she nudged her family member that was there with her. And then, of course, when that dolphin smacked us in the face, she was cracking up, laughing, and just shaking her head. So, yes, I hope there were many other people in hearing, but especially for her, I was just really thrilled that God showed her that he's not too busy.
I'm
And
glad
Well,
you said that, William, because there, as we have pointed out many times, the programming of what we place ourselves around and have allowed has caused a huge disbelief across our entire nation. Um, I honestly believe there's more disbelievers on this, side of life than there are believers, unfortunately. My goal, of course, is to always, pass along to someone regularly, daily, that, if you trust and believe, you will see. It's up to you. I can't change your mind. I can't, press upon. I can only tell you what I believe, and you won't shake my belief. But
But you don't
you,
have to. Here's the thing, is you don't have to tell them. They're going to see by the fact that he's opened your understanding and your comprehension and shined the light for you, you are different. They will see. You'll show a kindness. You'll do a random act of nicety that they won't see another human do. You may be the only one, but they will see.
You were the light
exactly,
in
which
the
is what the
moment
point I was going to make was
of
I'm the light in
life.
that conversation.
Of the life that God is the source, and He was sharing His life with another being, us, at the moment that He is present
Once
through
he
that dolphin.
once he lightens your path, you become illuminated.
Lighten and illuminate. All
Right.
those words tie
And
back to the source of
people
life.
are the same as moths. They are drawn to a light, an energy,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't know why they are drawn to it.
I hope that brings up a lot of questions for everyone tonight as we're 10 minutes before the hour. Uh, just a quick reminder, if you have not subscribed to our Mindful Nuggets page here, please go do that. And we always encourage you to be in our comments, asking questions, letting us know what your feedback is to our show each and every Thursday at the 90-day devotional here, sponsored by Mindful Nuggets.
No, I'd
Um,
love for them to share where God has lit the light for them and shown them a thing to be grateful for in
I
their life.
think and
That's a great
believe.
that's a great
Yeah,
one. Please put those in the comments and throughout, our next week as before we meet up on next Thursday, put those in the comments. Let us know where that light has shined for you and maybe are you the light and you spread and illuminate that beautiful beam everywhere. Put that in the
Or are
comments. Let
you
us
the
know that.
light that people are repelled from? Because sometimes, not everything likes the light.
Mhm.
If you're shining your light and they're not living in the light, sometimes they don't like your energy and you don't know why. Are you the one who's wondering why do these people keep leaving? Because I was that way at work at times. And I wouldn't understand. I was like, I'm doing everything I can do to be helpful, non-judgmental, be a mentor. And I would notice that there were not everybody, but there were quite a few that would be like, and I'd be the outlier. And I was like, that's okay. I don't mind being the outlier, but I do wonder. And luckily, I had a very intuitive mother, and she said, there's just some people who don't like the light, honey.
And that's very true. I mean, I've encountered several, throughout the course of my life that just are not meant for the light. And that's a conversation they will take up eventually on their own.
Well, that just
Um,
might not be their time to
and that's highly
come
possible.
to the light. Because, there's things we've all done that we're not proud of, and the light reveals that. And it makes you feel unclean,
Yeah.
that people will judge you or shame you or guilt you if you let it out, be your authentic self. But, you know, I'm pretty sure it's in the Bible that Jesus told the village to stone the woman, but they could do that. But first, the only person who could throw a stone had to have not committed any sin themselves.
Right.
And she'd get stoned.
Because we all fall short. Every
Well, we
single
just
one of
have
us.
this flesh that likes to be comfortable and do, and anything that's worldly, this flesh kind of wants to run after it.
Yeah.
And we're good at creating things to worship that we don't realize is worship and replacing Jesus. They kind of slide in on us before we realize that we are putting them in front of what we should be doing.
Mhm.
And if you're
Question
growing,
is that life though? We should always question our motives
but you see,
in our beliefs.
that tricky
But we
part is
don't
that
because we don't think to be aware of all these little things. We don't even think about aware about the words like Michelle was talking about.
that's what I started to say. The tricky thing is because Satan keeps you so busy, he keeps you too busy to have time to think about what you're
Well,
thinking,
here's
why you're
here's a great
thinking
start.
it.
Here's a great start that starts off on the wrong foot, but most people don't get it. What do you want to become when you grow up? Most people answer what?
Something that's helpful, serves another person.
Yeah, something that, they,
Some sort of servant,
yeah.
most of the time. A fireman, a policeman, a
A
doctor, a
wolf.
I
nurse,
mean,
a
right. I roll with
teacher.
somebody. Yeah, like Joel looked at me tonight and said, I want to be a nurse, which kind of took me back,
And
took
you're
me
like, no,
back
no,
for a
no, don't do
second.
that.
I'm like,
Okay.
okay,
So if you think about it in the sense that's what you're going to become.
Right.
Okay. But in this kind of order, shouldn't you just figure out who you're becoming first?
Now there's a
Who
difference.
you
You
are?
said what versus who.
Who? Because one is foundational. Who I am is your identity,
Right.
your values, your
Right.
character. What I become should come after who I am. And the only one who can tell you who you are is the life giving light that created you called God.
But
And He
the
gave you
only
that
way to
identity.
find that out is to get into the word because you
Word.
have to know what he says about you.
It's interesting you say
So
that because I just took on a client and she's a very young client. Um, an amazing young girl. She's overcome many disabilities, many disabilities. When doctors wrote her off, I mean, this young girl's only like 23 years old. When doctors wrote her off, her mom said, "No, I'm going to fight." But in the process of that, it has created some contention between mother and daughter, right? Because there was always, what a parent does, I'm going to do everything that's right for my child, but yet we never ask the child as the child continues to
Yeah.
grow, what does the child want, right? So this young
We
girl
forget to
has,
listen, yes.
exactly, we forget to listen. That is so true. And she is definitely a follower, she is definitely loves Jesus and is Christ follower. And she messaged me this morning and said, I'm just so grateful for shining, this is what she said, for shining a light upon what I knew I needed in order to get to the next step.
Wonderful.
And that was great to hear, but it was also great to hear. I missed last night's Bible study and she chimed in and said, "And I went to your Bible study last night." So that was even better. I
Guess
felt
what?
bad that I wasn't there. I just
I
couldn't make
want to
it,
tell
but
you that she said all the words you needed to hear.
exactly. Exactly.
That was
Yeah.
awesome. And see,
She
we
did.
so
we miss that so frequently that God has given another person to give you words of
Mhm.
encouragement and confirmation that
Mhm.
yes, this is a good thing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it comes down to the verse. Your words are either life
Or
or death.
death.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
we have bought into that programming that our words don't carry any weight.
Oh, I bet so many do buy into that whole concept of your words
It doesn't
have no
matter what
weight.
I'm
They bear, yeah,
speaking.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter what I'm saying, it bears no weight with you whatsoever, but your words matter. What
A lot.
you say matters. I mean, just look at a young child. Let's go from a young child, right? You keep telling that child, no, 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 no. What is that child first thing it does whenever it can talk? No,
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 no, no,
no,
no, no.
right?
Or rebels.
or rebel, right? Because
I
they're
want to tell
tired.
you, I've been, we have children of the childbearing age, and I've been trying to reprogram them by saying, don't tell this little child no. Say, yes, we can, but first we must. Yes, we can, but first we have to.
Right.
So give them a directive, an order of how things should happen. Because, yes, you want to do things with your child, and you don't want to hear them because it doesn't feel good when they're saying no, 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 no. And and you wouldn't believe how much resistance I'm getting from these young mothers. You say, but you have to correct them. I said, do you know that if you don't correct them, but you set them on a path with a purpose, they will never have to hear no
That's
because
correct.
they will do what they need to do in order to have the reward.
Well, correction in God's world is not punishment. And
But that,
correction and
but the no,
the correction is to create an abundant life that produces fruit,
but see,
not
I
to
believe
just to
Jesus
squash somebody's
Right.
growth.
never tells us no. He says, not yet, wait, yes, or I have something better.
Or
Yeah,
in
there's
my due
another way.
time. Yes, in my due time, not your due time, my due time.
Right. So I think you can do that with a child. I think you could say, if they say, can we go to the pool? And they're asking you in March, you can say, well, sure, honey, when it gets warmer, that's in my due time, right? Or if you have access to an indoor pool, we have to straighten up, da 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 da.
And
Mommy has to do a call or two, or whatever it is you have to do. And then, yeah, let's put this in tomorrow. We'll do the pool.
I
Right.
believe there's something that's probably a little bit more deeper than you're going here.
I'm sure there
No,
probably is, but I'm
no,
just trying to.
no, and no, and no,
But
and
no is a
no.
reaction.
I
Well,
feel that no
wait.
is very
Look,
negative and it
look,
doesn't
look,
teach you to
look,
look for
look at it. Look
possibilities.
at it in this perspective. No is used for obedience,
Right.
but that's not God's obedience.
I don't want them to be obedient because I'm forcing it.
No is to know they can't do it, and you need to be obedient and mind the parent. And a lot of times,
I don't
and a
mind.
lot,
I want them to mind the parent, but I don't
right,
want them to
but
feel
it's
like
not the right
every time
obedience.
they ask, the parent is too busy and then they get the idea that they don't matter.
No
And
is
you have a
suppression
valid
in a
point to
sense.
that. I see the other side of it. No, in the obedience side, that they honor me and hear what I say when I mean.
There's a time for it, but it's not. But
Right.
it's in the world.
Right.
It's used to suppress.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. I mean, like I said, tell a 2-year-old, from the age of 1 to 2,
Exactly.
they're in that terrible time
Well,
frame, right?
they
No,
they
no,
learn
no.
no very well, but what did
Right.
they learn? Yes, or how to become or how to nurture.
I think you
You
have
know,
to grow
you
a
don't go tell a
positive
seed no you can't
mindset.
grow, or is that
No,
what you're
I
going
mean,
to
that's
tell?
just it. Yeah, you don't tell a seed, no, you can't grow. I mean, if I went and told a seed, no, don't grow, I guarantee it wouldn't grow
Okay, but let
because
me
of the
since we're going to
power
use
of
a
that
garden or a
vibration.
seed analogy. There is no seed that you plant that you then once you plant it, you tell it no of any other thing.
Oh, you never do it. No.
No, you say yes, I can give you nutrients. I can figure out what nutrients you need,
Exactly
what
the
color
point.
you are. I can
Yep.
figure out what's wrong with your water. I can figure out how much light you need. I'll figure those things out. And I think that's where we fall short as parents.
Oh, absolutely.
We will
100%.
say no and not want to be bothered with it before we will say, yes, let's figure out a way how we could do this. And I think that builds a possibility mind.
Sure. It creates that
Absolutely,
open
it does.
mindset that, oh, well, wait, I wasn't told no. There is a possibility that I could do this. Maybe now's not the right time, but it
It
is
changes
I
the
think when we do
trajectory of
that,
the person
absolutely, absolutely. And not only that, a more positive mindset that comes forward in that as
because it
well.
brings light.
Right.
well, wouldn't that then get you a younger adult who looks for more potentials and,
You're well,
and
right.
Well, I can tell
opportunities?
you that I have a 9-year-old that hasn't heard the word no very much. And that 9-year-old looked at me yesterday because we had a situation where the other two grandchildren came over, and my two grandchildren live here.
Right,
So being as you live here, this is your responsibility and you need to learn to take accountability.
right. Care
So
for
we
it.
had a huge accountability responsibility lesson yesterday because some balls went missing, and children are children. And this one
I
looked
didn't
at
do it.
Well, this one here just looked at me and said, because obviously there's another part to the story as to why the balls are missing, the wiffle balls are missing, but he doesn't want to tell that side of the story because he doesn't want two other children to obviously get into trouble. But with that said, you create an adult, a more adult-like mindset when you don't hear those negative words all the time. And he's definitely developed that. And his response to that was, they're not my children and they're not my responsibility. So I'm
Okay,
just
then.
saying, when they don't hear no in many, many cases, there is another side to that that can come about with that adult mindset. Now, keep in mind, I raised my three children to be very adult mindset oriented. No was not something that I just said. If I did, it was very little. I always wanted them to think. I wanted them to be able to know that there was a possibility around the corner, and to never rule anything out. So that's the way I always thought. Not saying they didn't hear no. I'm just saying that I tried to always utilize a different way.
Well, but
Well,
I have to say for the young man, he is correct. They are not his children.
It was very
And they shouldn't get in trouble because of what he's saying. But they should be able to either speak to their adult, who would
right.
then say, look, we know there's only the four of you. You
Right.
do have to lay out a template. There's only the four of you. And if two of you didn't make the balls disappear, then that just leaves two.
Mhm.
So now of you two, which of you want to tell us what's going on? And there doesn't always have to be terrible repercussions.
No,
There,
it was just, where's the balls? Where did they
yeah,
go? Because they
we just
just
want to put them
disappeared.
up so we can find them the next time.
Right. And that was the conversation. It was just very interesting. And again, I think as a grandmother, I notice a lot more than I
Yes,
ever noticed
definitely.
as a mother. I see a bigger light than I
you've
saw
grown
in
too,
my
Michelle.
exactly. That's true too. I 100%, you're absolutely right. I have, especially over the past year, or even over these past, 7 months, I've seen a lot of growth in myself, in my connection with him and my spiritual growth. But there's just a huge light on the outside that I see, that I know that I'm trying to get people on the other side here, especially here on YouTube with us tonight, because we finish up the last 3 minutes of our hour. There's a huge light in children, and there's a huge light on the outside overall. And
Because
I really want you to open up the opportunity to see it,
there's
because
a
you're
huge
missing
light
out.
in children because they're closer to their origin of light.
Oh, absolutely.
I tried to speak on this too. It's so odd that we're speaking the same language. I was speaking on this today with our 9-year-olds, and I said, do you realize that God has known you before you ever had a flesh suit on, and that you lived with God, and that He did the same thing He told Jesus, a body I have prepared for you, and then He sent you down here to mommy, and then mommy held you in your tummy, and that you were an energy before you had skin,
Mhm.
just like Jesus? And she kind of looked at me puzzling. And then went, it was like that went either in her ear and it's still processing, or it went straight over her head. Because then she just went back to whatever she
That
was doing.
conversation didn't
And I was
happen.
like, but then in a few minutes she said, uh huh. And I was like, what are you saying uh huh to? She said, yeah, I was. I said, but do you know that you've been a long time with God before you're down here? And
Mhm.
that when you die, you go back to being with God as long as you want Him to be in your heart and you follow Him.
Right.
And she was kind of like, but you could tell she was still off in her own mind doing her own thing. And I was like, I don't think she gets it, but maybe she gets it more than I realize. And that just doesn't, it's not an aha moment because she's already figured that out.
Not yet, but God knows that you were supposed to tell her that. And there's a reason why she will have an aha moment. When she has it, she'll let you know.
I think it had to do with her having she told me she had ADHD. And I said, honey, there's lots of people who have ADHD. And
Labels.
I
Right.
said this to her. She said, yeah, my friend has ADHD too. And I said, look, don't ever think that having ADHD makes there be something wrong with you. I said, God created you exactly how he wants you to be. And when he got finished creating you, he said, it is good. And that is why you came down here to be mommy's daughter. And he brought you down here at the specific time that the world needs you. And I said, did you know that there are so many more people being told that they have ADHD nowadays, and that your brain works as a superpower compared to average brains? You pick up more things in your environment, more cues from the people around you that the average person that they say doesn't have ADHD, which I don't believe there's anybody that's not on that spectrum.
Right.
Oh, it's funny. We create the condition, we give it a label, and then it becomes a disease or a
Right.
disorder.
That's the way that's
That's
the
the
way
human
Big Pharma
condition.
works.
Let me leave everybody with a pattern that makes a little bit better sense. It's if you look at it this way, breath, God's breath, ruach in the Hebrew, gives life. Life, being God, the source of life, produces light. And light reveals the path. In the Psalms, especially, it says, He is the lamp to your feet, the light to your path. So everything happens in that order for you to have a life. Okay. But without God's breath, we may have structure, but we have no life, i.e., busyness in doing, but not enjoying our lives. Without God's life, we may not have, we may have information, but we have no true light. And without God's light, we may have movement in our lives, but no clear direction.
That's true. You can have busyness, but not really be producing.
Yeah, you're not present.
Yeah,
Well, you're not producing anything. It's kind of like being on that
right.
hamster
So
wheel.
you can move and produce no fruit.
Right.
And there's no direction, there's no alignment, and there's nothing but existence. And that's what we started out was talking about, an existence and being too busy to enjoy your life. Well, you're here for a purpose, not just to be busy.
No,
You have
you're
you have a
meant to
purpose.
have a life that's abundant. And by God's definition, abundant is joyfulness, happiness, peacefulness, calmness, not strife, struggle.
Right, but that's what we get accustomed to and we settle for, and we believe that is our life, and it is not. So you have to go back to the start at the beginning. Not what I have become or becoming, is who I am and who I'm becoming.
I
There's a
think you
big
have to
difference.
go back to what is your source.
Go to the origin and
Yes,
start doing
because is
foundational.
your source the world or is it Christ? Because in the world you will have
The
strife and
world,
struggle,
the world will
and
form you,
it will
but
make you that
foundationally,
way.
God built you.
Because the
And there's
world
two
doesn't,
separate things.
the world doesn't want you to enjoy life.
Hmm. No, they
That's
suck you
not
dry.
its point. Its point is to
Mhm.
make you strive, struggle, distraught, depressed, anxious, and fearful, because all of those will separate you from your true source, Christ, who will do everything that is not of that.
And one more thing, light brings clarity, and clarity is
Definitely.
mercy. Clarity is mercy. So you're not fumbling around in the dark anymore.
And that's a blessing. That in and of itself is a blessing.
Absolutely.
That you
Well, I
don't
think we
have to
ran over, didn't we, Michelle?
We are just a few minutes over.
you
Nothing
don't
major
have to run
tonight,
around in
but
the bedroom in the dark and stump your toe and break your arm, fall over things.
And however, everyone here at YouTube tonight, we really appreciate you joining us here at the 90-day devotional. We did go over just a couple of minutes, so we appreciate you continuing to be with us. Join us next Thursday night as we will be back. Our scripture next week. Now, like I said, our scriptures fall into your life, believe it or not. So look for the blessings this week. Let us know what those blessings are
I
in
think
the
we fall
chat.
into the scriptures and discover life more.
I do have one more thing to tell you. I forgot to tell you about the cross references companion scriptures.
Oops, we got ahead
And you
of
know,
ourselves.
when anything's repeated, it's important. This
Absolutely.
is repeated 15 times through the Bible that I've counted. I'm sure there's many more. That's just a few that I've found.
Wow. Okay.
You find that just in the Old Testament.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Well, I'm gonna have to pay attention now. Okay. So next week's scripture is do unto others as you would have them do to you. Okay. Well, I'm going to be paying attention to this scripture next week.
oh,
All
I
right.
think
So
that
that
falls
is
in love thy neighbor is the origin of that one.
absolutely. That's Luke 6:31. So
Mhm.
we'll be speaking upon that next week. Join us back here as if you
Please.
haven't subscribed, go subscribe so that you will be notified when we are live. And if you have not picked up our journal, Love, Hope, Faith, and Love, please go do that. Reach out to Melanie Goodwin here on the 90-day devotional. She will get you hooked up with this
Yeah, I
book.
can put the link on the Facebook 90-day devotional too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, that'd be a great idea. That'd be a great idea. Come and join our community on Facebook, the 90-day devotional. We'd love to have you. Make sure you're here and subscribed. We'll be back next Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Thank you, Mindful Nuggets, for sponsoring the 90-day devotional. And when will we be back, Mr. Goodwin? On Monday night.
It's money. We're too engrossed in living in the light, and it's moving at light speed. But the great thing is we're enjoying our life, our youth.
Absolutely. So join us Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. Subscribe. You'll be
All right.
notified. All right, everyone.